Since the moment Security Breach came out, and a year or so beforehand, people have been wanting to date the Glamrocks. Don't deny it, you know it be true. This is largely because the Glamrocks and other Security Breach animatronics have more fleshed out personalities, well, most of them, voices, shapely physiques, and absolutely no sign of children's ghosts. Ignoring Freddy's "I am not me," he was just having a mini stroke. So in this very special Valentine's Day video, we will be tackling the topic dead on. For all you folks without a date, or who had a date but wish you didn't, waiting for a pop bear to bust in the door and whisk you off to some happily never gonna happen. Jokes aside, we are going to assess the Security Breach animatronics, which are the best to date, and how these Valentine's dates will go. And before anyone says anything about this being weird or that this is like why the fandom's falling apart, I saw your most watched parts of my videos. Don't lie, you wanted me to do this. Let's start with good old Papa Bear, Glamrock Freddy. Freddy Fazbear, or Glamrock Freddy, is the lead vocalist of the Glamrock band and a single father looking for someone who likes kids, loves laser tag, and likes watching the sunset from the safety of a grassy hill. This protective softie will do his best to take care of you and keep you safe against all odds. Pros: loyal to a fault. Once you're close to Freddy, or even before that, he will do everything in his power to be the best host, friend, and maybe more that he can be. He's a good dad. And yes, he is sensitive in a soft and supportive way. He is strong. He has abs of iron and buns of steel. He has a great voice. He is a delightful himbo. Cons: he's a ditzy himbo. Things sometimes fly right over Freddy's head, so don't be too shocked if you have to sometimes clarify things for him. He's very friendly, which means he'll likely put you in the friend zone. He has some clingy tendencies. Sure, it's nice to be able to call him whenever, but he wants to know where you are and he will eagerly run up to you like a lost puppy, or an oversized Great Dane who doesn't really know where he is. And he's a bit naive, so be prepared to be Papa Bear's protector. That should cover it. In the end, Freddy is a lovable sweetheart who is very passionate about his role in the Pizzaplex and the Pizzaplex itself. He loves children and his friends, but is just a little bit clueless and a shred dopey at times. But is incredibly good-natured and protective. Well, maybe to a fault. What would a date with Freddy be like? Well, Freddy is definitely the type who would want to do an activity date. He takes you to play Phaser Blast, and you're sort of wondering if Freddy realizes this is a date or if this is just a friendly meetup. He goes easy on you. He always does, regardless. Occasionally, he breezes past while leaving himself completely open, and you long to be closer to him as you accidentally shoot him in the eye and cause him to briefly wail in pain. You go over and pat his hand apologetically until he's okay to keep blasting. All the while, alien staff bots are clogging up behind you, babbling, but you are with Freddy, and when he lays his hand on yours, you feel like maybe it might be something more. Then you go back to playing and suddenly Freddy decides to stop playing easy and you lose badly. Freddy assures you that it was a good game. You know it wasn't. You then head up to L-Chips and he eats you up a Faz-tato after a good 10 minutes wrestling with the equipment. You can't sit in the flimsy L-Chip booths, so he kneels on the floor at a bent angle and chats as you eat your food. You still don't feel like this is very romantic. But then, Freddy invites you back to his green room. You enter into his green room and are shocked. He has dimmed the lights and spread across the room dozens of those battery-operated faux candles. There's soft music playing in the background. Of course, the only music allowed at the Pizzaplex is licensed Freddy music, so it's a Freddy Fazbear Christmas music, but you don't mind. You two sit together on the couch and cuddle, him wrapping his big, strong metal arms around you and holding you tight before leaning in. He boops you with his nose. It is a delightful evening. I would give Freddy's date ranking an A. His charming and caring nature and attentiveness outweighs his general metal exterior. And sure, he's not the sharpest tool, but that's where you come in. Now let's move on to Glamrock Chica. Glamrock Chica is the guitarist of the Glamrock band. This sweet chick's interests include pizza, nachos, cupcakes, and staying in shape. It's not too hard for her, for obvious reasons. This sugar-caked sweetie is just looking for someone who can fill that empty void, preferably smothered in cheese. Pros. She can be a sweet and goofy sort of gal when she wants to be, peeking over your shoulders with curiosity, playing with soda machines, and even doing a little dinosaur walk when she's trying to be sneaky. She's full of character. She rocks the guitar, and she seems to love doing it, so if you like music, you may be in for a few free concerts. She's totally in shape and can keep up with any activities, from maze crawling to mini golfing. Cons. A crippling food addiction that creeps its way into every aspect of life. Eats garbage, partially two-faced, and creeps on children.
Who wants candy?
In the end, Chica comes off as a perfect sweetie, but there's a good chance you aren't coming first in your relationship. That would be the pizza you brought. But keep her well-fed and happy, and this might be a beautiful relationship. Just don't let her get hangry, and always share. What would a date with Glamrock Chica be like? Well, the moment you mention getting a bite, she will totally be on board. She excitedly drags you off to the pizza, and sweetly asks if you'll make her something for you two to share. Hands clasped and eyes big and pleading. So, you do. You make as many pizzeritos as you can handle, and Chica's throwing them back like she's in the Nathan's hot dog eating contest of 2035 or later. Alas, by share, you're more so sharing the experience. Chica can't resist just eating everything herself, but she is so thrilled that she gives you a greasy peck on the cheek. Now satiated, she takes you up to the East Arcade where you play some knockoff Dance Dance Revolution Fazbear remix. You've got to admit that she's got the moves, probably from all the jazzercise. But all the movement works up an appetite, and then you head to El Chips where you watch Chica guzzle nacho cheese straight out of the tap. She is one special lady. And you're having a good time, but you can't shake the feeling that, just maybe, Chica is having a better time with the food than she is with you. My final ranking is, after some careful consideration, a C. At first I was thinking a B because the date scenario really seems sweet, but I have to take into consideration that she won't be nearly as nice on an empty stomach. But that's the biggest problem with dating Chica. You never know if she really loves you or the tasty treats you provide. In a way, it's like you're bribing her to go out with you. But if you don't bribe her, you know she's going to get upset.
I'm starving.
Next, we're on to Montgomery Gator. This mysterious Gator is a killer bassist, and when he isn't shredding it on stage, he's hitting holes in ones at his own mini-golf course, or lounging up in the catwalks. A Gator of few words, he's looking for someone who matches his vibe and would choose him over Freddy any day. Pros. He's strong and tough. He's the type of Gator who could and would easily grab you up in his arms and won't hesitate in fighting for you. He has a totally rad fashion sense with a flaming red mohawk and cool sunglasses. He's a bassist. He might be a himbo too. Cons. He has a short temper and tends to break stuff in arm's length. That's an understatement. He will destroy entire rooms, so no keeping stuff at his place. He could have jealous tendencies, and that could lead to major issues. He might have killed somebody. In the end, there are some obvious warning signs with Monty, but it's easy to overlook them as him being misunderstood and mislabeled as a monster. Or maybe he is the beast to your beauty. Perhaps you can reach the soft heart through layers of metal plating. What would a date with Monty be like? First of all, Monty stays rather quiet and aloof during most of it, giving an occasional yeah or rock on to answer questions, handing you the reins. You decide to not force him to play more mini-golf than he already has to, and instead offer up a few other activities. He quickly shoots down Phaser Blast, but surprisingly is on board for bowling. Surprisingly, Monty is actually good at bowling, and he gives you a run for your money. You also find out that he does victory dances when he wins. But other than that, he is remarkably quiet for most of the game. After bowling, you head back to Monty Golf to get some chow at Monty's Gator Grub. The staff bot tending the counter brings you some fries with green ketchup that tastes just a little off and you can't tell why. But your attention is on Monty, trying to get him to open up. It is then that you see him looking up at the catwalk. It is then that you realize the truth of why Monty's been so weird on your date. See, it's common knowledge that Monty was having a secret affair with one of the other Glamrocks. But one horrible night months ago, his lover got into a terrible accident after he fell off the catwalks during an intense makeout session. Monty is still mourning. Even now, he still wears his sweetheart's sunglasses. It's no wonder you're not getting anywhere. He's not ready. But you let him know you're there for him, resting your hand on his. He takes it, and it is then that your date finally begins. You lose at mini-golf 3 times in a row, and Monty has to teach you how to putt. Totally worth it. My final ranking is a C, a B for my fabricated Monty tragic backstory version, and a more realistic D for what might actually go down. So, even that out, a C. Okay, before you say anything about my phony affair scenario, the truth is we've got very little to go off of with Monty. So instead of giving him an F, too much temper, I thought I'd give him the benefit of a doubt. I feel like despite what all those red flags say, there could be a soft heart underneath all of that. I want to believe in the beauty beneath the beast. Or at least a 3-dimensional character, you know. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for. Roxanne Wolf. Roxanne Wolf, also known as Roxy to friends, is the gorgeous guitar player of the band. When she's not rocking the stage or touching up her nail polish, she's burning rubber on the go-kart track, but don't let that cool you off. She's the best, and she knows it, and you're going to have to be a close second if you want a chance with this lone wolf. Pros. She's beautiful. She's fierce. No questionable smells. She knows how to drive and can tear up the road. She's a baddie. She has a more sensitive and soft side hiding underneath her tough-as-nails exterior. You just have to get her to open up. Is also good with kids, could be a great big sister figure to any young'uns. Cons. She can be defensive, especially about her looks and skills. She has an ego to cover up self-image issues. And she has serious self-image issues and confidence issues, which lead to those 2 previous cons. She's very needy for attention and needs constant eye contact. She can and will hold a grudge, so for the love of all that is holy, do not tick her off if you ever expect to see her again. In the end, Roxy is a complex character. Behind a wall of confidence and perfection, there's a vulnerable person who is afraid to fail. But maybe she is waiting for someone to see past that exterior, see all of her self-proclaimed flaws, and find them just as beautiful as she is. So what would a date with Roxy be like? Well, she's not just going to go out with any schmuck that shows up. If you want a chance with Roxy, then you're gonna have to prove it. In a go-kart race. There's no way you're going to beat her, but you don't let her win, and despite what she may say, she respects that. You don't need to let her win. So she'd rather you give it your all. When it's over, yeah, you definitely lost. She's unsurprised, more concerned in how fluffed up her hair's gotten by the wind, and starts combing it down. You look at her, and despite conventions, you tell her that she's beautiful. She is taken by surprise. She thinks you're trying to ploy her with compliments, but you are sincere. And she says she knows she's beautiful, but you feel that, out of all the compliments she's lavished with, this one managed to hit its mark. Whether it's due to the race or the timely compliment, Roxy decides to go ahead with the dates, despite the fact that you lost. She tells you to head up to the sushi stall in the upper section of Roxy Raceway and goes to get ready. After a while, you're looking down at a pack of suspicious sushi that the chef bot pulled out from directly underneath the counter when Roxy returns. She's now decked out in flaming red lipstick, navy and pink eyeshadow, a rainbow beaded necklace, and sunglasses. None of it matches. She looks incredible. You tell her so. For the next while, you talk with Roxy and pretend to eat that sushi, but don't. Not that she minds, as she wants your eyes on her, and you want your eyes on anything that isn't that sushi. But while Roxy initially begins the conversation sounding disinterested, after a while she becomes more intrigued as you continue to treat her not as an animatronic, but as a person. You find out that Roxy's a big fan of motorcycles and is interested in mechanic work, working on bikes and cars, but can't risk getting dirty, which cleverly disguises the fact that the technicians won't let her work on her own machines. Afterwards, you walk her back to the green room. Once you get there, you tell Roxy goodnight, despite the fact that it's like 10 minutes until 6 a.m. She beckons you with her finger. You step in, flustered, and lean in, her lips hovering above your cheek. And then, she pulls back. Too soon. Maybe next time, she tells you. She winks over her plastic sunglasses and pushes you back out of the way before the door shuts in front of you. You lay a hand on your cheek and swoon like a quivering school chicken. There's going to be a next time. You definitely won. My final ranking is an A. Sure, Roxy might have some rough points, but underneath those, there's a soft soul who needs someone who can love her for who she is. It won't be as easy as with Freddy, perhaps, and there's definitely some issues she needs to work through, but I have the utmost confidence in her. I think she could be quite the catch, if you can catch her. Now on to a fan favorite and one of the most desired datees of the FNAF franchise, the daycare attendant. No, I am not kidding. Sun is an overworked and underappreciated fellow who needs a tender heart to take pity on him and show him the love and affection he's expected to share on dozens of children every day, all day, for no pay. And though he can be sassy and bossy, at times, underneath that is an anxious ball of sunshine sweetness. But will you be able to withstand this sunny fellow despite his dark side? Pros: he's good with kids, assumedly, and is likely a good caretaker. He seems to be pretty sweet when he's not anxious or stressed, and would probably be affectionate. He is an artiste. I mean, his color choices are, but it's the thought that counts. And look at his little frowny face sign. He's got all sorts of cute little hobbies. He's got the moves of smooth butter. Cons: push his buttons and he'll push back. He's a perfectionist over the most baffling details. He has some childish tendencies, like you upset him and he will toss you out and ban you. And Moon. In the end, Sun seems like a sweet soul in a tough situation who would probably be a little clingy, but otherwise would make for a good partner. He needs this, trust me. Problem is, when you get the one, you get that other one, the Moon. This wicked space gremlin is always hanging over Sun's shoulders, waiting for the lights to flicker so he can creep out and strangle someone. So just keep in mind that you're basically playing Russian roulette with Fazbear Entertainment's faulty lighting system. So, what would a date with the daycare attendant be like? Well, for starters, the second you ask him, he would probably drop whatever he's holding, so wait until he sets all that stuff down and stops compulsively cleaning. At first, he thinks you're pranking him, and is very suspicious. But once you convince him that, yes, you do want to go on a date, he gets flustered and has a little panic incident before eagerly agreeing. You offer to plan something, but no, Sun wants to have the date now. Next thing you know, you're sitting at one of those tiny kiddie tables, balancing on a tiny chair, drinking pineapple fizzy fazz out of a plastic cup. It is ridiculous, but you also find it charming. Sun seems so desperate for one-on-one contact that he's fully engaged and zigzagging through a conversation like he's afraid he's going to miss out. You're having a good time, when all of a sudden the lights flicker. Sun mimics spitting out his drink and grows frantic, but only gets to the point of standing up to shoo you out when the lights go out. You watch, stuck to the seat, or stuck in the seat, as he turns into Moon right in front of you. Moon cackles with glee and reaches for you. But you can't run. You're full of fizzy fazz. You're doomed. Unless, suddenly you grab his hands and give him the look, and tell him that you're very fond of him. You then brace yourself. And that's when you find out the truth. Moon is not a wicked clown cretin at all. He's a tsundere. And he's so taken aback by your forwardness that he crawls backwards up the nearest slide and hides there. At first you're just relieved he's gone, but then you start feeling kinda bad and try to coax him down. Before that happens, the lights come back on and Sun comes out in a panic. He knew it was a bad idea. Oh, he's so sorry. But you assure him, heck, you sort of have a soft spot for Moon. Sun, something between shocked and offended, whisks you out of the daycare as fast as he can. But before he can shut the door, you ask for another date sometime. He stammers out a yes and closes the door. Score! I would rank Sun's date with either an A or B, and that solely depends on whether or not Moon is tsundere or an actual threat. Because you can find a way to work around it, but maybe you don't have to. Either way, the date might be a little more slapdash, but it is endearing nonetheless. Next, we have DJ Music Man. This DJ is a no-nonsense workaholic musician bouncer looking for someone to be the missing voice in his techno symphony. Don't let his size fool you. He's a laid-back guy with a lot of passion, and though he cannot speak, he has the perfect beat to reach your heart. Will you be his inspiration? Pros. He's multi-talented in both music creation and security, and he takes both jobs very seriously. You'll never hear him play the same song twice. Every track is fresh and new. He's big and strong enough to pick you up and carry you wherever you need to go. Due to his position, he can get you into the West Arcade free, and will be glad to have some company on stage with him. Cons. He sleeps like a log for a good 12 hours or so, with random naps breaking it up. He has his bouncer mode, in which case he may compulsively remove you from the arcade. Because of his size, cuddling is largely one-sided. In the end, DJ Music Man is a gentleman who would be able to treat anyone right. But that would mean getting used to his erratic sleep and work schedule. It might take some time budgeting just to get some one-on-one with the guy. What would a date with DJ Music Man be like? The DJ is mostly confined to the West Arcade, which means he's got plenty planned before you even show up. First, it's time for karaoke. He loves to listen to you sing. It inspires him. And after listening to you belt out a few, he decides to return the favor by taking you back downstairs, plopping you on a couch, and performing a brand new song he just made, one that he will never play for anyone else. Your song, which you will hold near and dear to your heart. If you're smart, you record it with your phone and listen to it on repeat on nights when you are home and far away from your big, strong music machine. But the evening's not over yet. There's even dancing, well, you dancing alongside one of his hands. It's not the most graceful thing, but he watches you with big, black, empty, void eyes filled with love and devotion. Then he cups you in his hands and carries you upstairs, through the oversized secret emergency back doors and up to the roof. There he holds you cradled in his grasp as you two watch the sun slowly rise on the horizon, the only sound being the hum of the distant highway and the occasional chirp of birds. To you, it is perfect. When it comes to ranking, I almost talked Music Man into an S rank, but I was judging this with A as the top rank, so I'll give him an A too. I'll sort out which A is the best A at the end of this, so keep that in mind. Regardless, DJ Music Man is going to treat you right. Next we have Glamrock Bonnie. You can't date Glamrock Bonnie. I'm sorry, but he's not there. He's not all there anymore. Instead, let's head on to a much more likely date candidate. The Mimic. Excellent at listening and learning, Dear Mimic's the type who loves commitment, who can become so wrapped up in one person that you might not know where his love ends and theirs begins. Betrayed by many and unloved by all, this lost soul needs someone to come fix him, and then surely he will be the one to fill the emptiness inside of you. Pros: snazzy dresser, good listener. Cons: will definitely kill you. Has an attitude problem. In the end, Mimic is definitely going to be the reason that you don't live to a ripe old age, and willingly putting yourself into his hands is just a recipe for disaster. Or a recipe for romance? Maybe there's something more to him than just copycat serial killer. What would a date with the Mimic be like? You would come down to the depths of the Pizzaplex. It's a long hike, but he is worth it, and he can't come out lest he be spotted. Your worst fear is that someone will find him and take your metal baby from you. When you get to his underground pizzeria bunker, Mimic reveals that he has a surprise for you, and rushes off. He returns later in a gaudy, hacked-together costume made of other unstuffed and de-limbed costumes stitched together into one. It looks like, well, a mess, but you know it's supposed to look like you, and you are endeared, and Mimic is so happy, telling you such in your own voice. You decide to take a picture of you two and save this lovely moment. Mimic excitedly looks at the picture and he's not happy. He slowly takes off the head and looks between you and it, and he realizes it looks nothing like you. He slouches in defeat, but you quickly assure him, I love you as you are. You don't need to look like me. The important thing is that we're together. Unfortunately, Mimic seems less assured and a little too interested in this suggestion. He doesn't need to look like you, he just needs to be you. He tells you so, reciting and twisting up your words as he starts coming towards you with that empty stare in his eyes. You know he can tear through anything. You know he can contort and fit into anything. He wants you to be his new suit. But before he can, you stop him and fumble on, "Hey, I didn't mean that together. I meant together in a beside each other sort of way." He processes your words and he gets a new idea. A wonderful idea. One that doesn't involve grisly disembowelment. The both of you could fit into his new suit and stay there, together. You try to protest a little, but you can't do much, because you know the alternative is something much more foul. Next thing you know, you're in the moldy, dusty suit. Mimic slides in behind you, his metal skeleton contorting to fit around you. You can feel metal and springs digging into your skin. You have made a horrible decision. You may have been spared of Mimic's gruesome methods to bond you forever, but now you are trapped in this claustrophobic suit with him, and unless you can somehow get help, no, you know nobody will survive long enough to help you, or somehow talk him out of this, you will die in this suit. And what scares you is that maybe, just maybe, you won't stay dead. Till death to us part never sounded so good. So I think obviously we're ranking this an F. Even in the best case scenario, Mimic has a bad history of tearing folks apart, so this is really the likely outcome. Now let's move on to the beloved MapBot. MapBot isn't like those other staff bots. This quirky and resourceful bot has so much heart that you'd swear he's human. Looking for someone to love him despite the obvious, Map could point you to the perfect companion, himself. Pros: he won't kill you. He's very attentive. He may be able to teleport, and he has some nifty glasses. Cons: he compulsively gives out maps, masks, and anything else he has on hand. And worst of all, no lips for smooches. In the end, MapBot is a safe choice, but you're going to be making quite a few sacrifices. You know there is a deeper soul hiding underneath that metal exterior, but it's reaching it that is the problem. He has no mouth and he cannot speak. Well, beyond shouting, "Take a map" all the time. What would a date with MapBot be like? Well, it would be him shouting "Take a map" all the time. A good chunk of the time. His programming eventually times out and he compulsively gives you another map. But in the meantime, you are able to hold his hand and walk around the Pizzaplex. There's not too many attractions he's able to engage with, so you go poking around the prize counter. On happen chance, you spot something blue stuffed in a dusty corner by the counter. It is a Glamrock Bonnie plush. And for the first time that evening, MapBot reacts. He takes the plush and looks at it. Then he looks to you and gestures at the toy with a map. You have a feeling that he's telling you he used to like Bonnie. That Bonnie used to be his favorite. Yeah, you say, he was Freddy and Monty's too. Bonnie used to get around. You're in the shirt section looking to see if there's anything worth its whopping price tag, when MapBot pulls away. You look to see him staring intensely at a child-sized red sweater with flowers on it. It doesn't look like it has Freddy's branding at all, but they're selling it here for whatever reason. He grabs it and it falls off the rack. You rush to put it up, but before you can, MapBot starts hugging it. It is at this moment that you know there is something more to MapBot, and you are determined to find it, one date at a time. I would rank about a B. MapBot needs love too, and he's docile enough to be a safe partner, but there are a lot of hurdles you need to dive over if you want to make this work. Be patient and he can be an excellent partner. And finally, you wait under the cherry blossom tree located behind the Pizzaplex, the wind blowing in your hair as you do. Soon you can feel an additional presence. Taking a deep breath, you put on your mask, and there he is, his chiseled face framing a mischievous grin. Your heart flutters anticipation as you take a deep breath. Michael 2. Data extraction endpoint stop. Will you go out with me? Mxes grins at you, and then after a moment he does something he's never done before. He speaks, and he says, no. Your heart would have been broken if he didn't look so smug about it. Ah, well, at least you tried. Back inside, looks like we're going out with Music Man. So out of all our bachelors, bachelorettes, and elsewise, who is the most dateable animatronic? Oh, well, honestly, it's probably either DJ Music Man or Freddy. They're definitely in the lead. In fact, it was such a close tie between the two that I'm just gonna crown it to them both. I know that's sort of a cop-out, but, you know, they both deserve this spot. Next in line would be Roxy and Sun, who are great choices but have some issues that you'll have to work with them about. Moon is a wild card here, and how he behaves kind of decides on whether these two are even ground or Roxy's leading the race. Mattbot falls shortly behind, the main issue being his lack of ability to communicate or do much, making an actual relationship difficult. Next we have Glamrock Chica, who's a little too fond of food, and Monty, who's a little too mysterious. Glamrock, Monty, and Mxes aren't in the rankings for understandable reasons I went over. One rabbit's out of service, and the other... Look at that face, he is not going to date you. And finally, Mimic is dead last, because of the whole dismemberment thing. And with that, we have wrapped up this FNAF dating guide, Security Breach Edition. I'm sure there's maybe an animatronic or two I could have squeezed in, but I thought just tackling this chunk would be for the best. Maybe I'll do another someday. For now, happy Valentine's Day, and thank you for watching.